Hello, my Aquarius friends. This is Kristen Redman, Astrological Intuitive, and today we are going to be discussing the planetary aspects that are going to be making an impact for you in this upcoming year of 2021. And you have actually quite a bit of energy that's coming in where it hasn't been for a couple of years. There's a lot, really, that Mars, the engine that makes everything go in the universe, is going to be moving through some sectors in your chart where it hasn't been for 2 years, really pushing you, motivating you in relationship and in career. But one of the main things is Jupiter and Saturn aligning in your sign. This hasn't happened for a long, long time. And the fact that it's happening now at this point in our time and our history is even more vital for you as well. So let's get right into it. Let's start with, I think first and foremost, in the world of astrology, we always look to the moon cycles because that happens every month and we know when to act on certain things based off of the moon cycles. And for you as an Aquarius, the full moon and new moon in Aquarius are the most vital times for you in the year. So keep these dates in mind. Now, if you want to plant seeds for manifestation, so what that means is that you want to plant seeds for wishes that you want to see come to fruition or come to pass this year. The most powerful moon for you to do that is the new moon, February 11th. That's your moon, the new moon in Aquarius. So keep that in mind. Now, if there's something where you want to end cycles in your life, like let's say you've recognized, gosh, I want to quit smoking, or I see that I make this same, mistake where I jump to anger when I, talk with somebody, and I recognize that and I really want to change that. If you want to change cycles in your life, the full moon is the best time to do that. And for you, the Aquarius full moon is August 22nd. That's going to be your best time to purge and release anything you need to into the universe. So keep those in mind. But so let's start it out with the year here. Let's go to money first. Let's talk about money, okay? Because Mars, that planet I was talking about earlier, Mars is the planet, think of it, it's that fiery, fiery planet out there. It injects energy into the houses that it goes into. It clears away old stagnated energy and it makes room for something new. Now, Mars takes 2 years to go around the sun, where we take 365 days in a year, right? Well, it takes 2 years for Mars to make its revolution. Now, same in its chart here. What happens is it takes 2 years for that guy to come around and land in this house in your chart. And where it's going to be is in the second house of money. Hasn't been there since the beginning of 2019, and here it is again. So this is really, really a good energy for that. Not only that, but in the summertime from May 15th until May 28th, we have that lucky planet Jupiter. That guy takes 12 years to make its revolution around the sun. It's going to be making a tiny little appearance in that house of money and finances for you, where it hasn't been for 12 years. Now, like I said, it's just for the summer because it retrogrades and then it moves back into your sign of Aquarius, which is still very beneficial, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But for it to make that little appearance, it's going to give you a heads up on what 2022 has in store for you in terms of money, how you make your money, how much money you're making. But it's also that second house has to do with self-worth. This is going to be a summer where you recognize and you realize maybe the situation that I've been in, that I've settled for, isn't quite to my standards. Maybe I deserve better. Jupiter helps us stretch and grow, okay, where we limit ourselves with our self-limiting beliefs. So it's going to be going through that house of self-worth, really stretching you this summer to think, what can I do to deserve more? I deserve better. What else do I need? And it's not just about recognizing. Jupiter says, oh, you've seen that? Great, let me give you blessings. Jupiter is the planet of blind luck and blessings. So see what the summer has to bring and you'll see what I'm talking about in terms of money. Because then that trend continues on into 2022. So at the end of 2021 and then moving into 2022, you'll see what I mean with Jupiter working with your house of finances and self-worth. Now back to that Mars, right? Let's move on to the house of home and family. So Mars is going to be blasting on through there at the beginning part of the year, right? January 7th to February 4th. I tell you what, it hasn't been there for 2 years, and when Mars starts bringing its energy through, it's going to really light a fire under you to either A, make some home improvements, B, actually move homes. I see this happen time and time again for clients where Mars will be moving and transiting through that fourth house of home and family, and they have got a fire under them to move like I can't even tell you. But it's also going to make you impatient. So just be careful. Watch and see what the universe is showing you in signs. Is it really time to move, or is it something that'll pass once, February 4th hits? Now let's move on, because then Mars keeps on moving through your chart this year. It's really moving through some sectors it hasn't been for a couple of years. So then come June 11th through July 30th, that's when Mars starts moving into your house of marriage, partnerships, and relationships. Clearing out the old stagnating energy that's really accumulated there since the beginning part of 2019, because it needs some fresh energy. And what planet better to do it than Mars? I tell you what. Now, as it goes through there, same with like when it goes through your house of home, when it goes through that house of relationships, Mars has a tendency to want to get things done right, and it just goes and it pushes without thinking. It may take on that same energy when it goes through that house of relationships. So just be careful that you're not being impatient, pushing something to happen when it doesn't need to happen in that time frame. But on its positive side, it's going to give you the confidence to get yourself out there where it hasn't been for a couple of years. You're going to have that confidence to go, you know what, I am ready to start dating again, or I am ready to start asking my mate for these things that I need in relationship to feel happier, because that's what Mars wants, right? So that's the one good thing, is that it brings you that confidence and that courage to be yourself and to vocalize what it is that you need. And Mars keeps on moving. It keeps on moving. And then when it hits in, let's see here. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay. So just before that, okay, April 23rd to June 11th, Mars is going to be, just before it goes to that, right after it does the home business, when it works on home and family, and before it gets to relationship, it's going to be moving through your house of work. All right. Now, when Mars goes through there, it's going to have you really assessing, okay, is this job making me happy? What I do every day to make this money? Because there's so much in store in terms of you financially, thanks to Jupiter kind of making its appearance this summer. And then what's going to be happening in 2022, Mars is going to be going through that workhouse going, is this the job that's going to get the job done in terms of building up my bank account, right? You may feel an impulse then too to maybe have that confidence to go up to your boss and be like, you know what, I put a lot of extra time in through 2020 and everything we went through. What do you think about a raise? You'll have that maybe right now as we're talking. You're like, oh, there's no way I could do that. Maybe you will though, But another thing too that sixth house deals with is health. Mars going through that can have a double-edged sword, okay? So the first thing is it's going to give you that motivation to really start working on focusing on your health. Now, because Mars going through that health house too, it may stimulate some sort of underlying health issue that might bring that to the surface and make you want to start focusing more on your health in this coming year as well. So just keep an eye out for that. Now, us astrologers, what we look for in everybody's birth chart, every year when I do these readings, I do readings throughout the year, obviously, but I look to see where the eclipses are going to be lighting things up, because eclipses bring new beginnings to you in your life. And you look to the houses to see where those new beginnings are going to be happening, and you're like, okay, this is where there's going to be energy for this client. Now, for you, Aquarius, these are going to be happening in the 5th house and in the 11th house for you this year. So in that May 25th to June 21st time frame, definitely pay attention to these new beginnings that are coming in terms of just overall happiness. The 5th house deals a lot with the self and what makes you happy. It also deals with children, and it also deals with romance and just having fun and being able to be your creative self. New beginnings are trying to come through. A fresh breath of spring air is trying to come through and bring some much needed fun into your life. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, it deals with the 11th house, where it's also bringing new energy as well. And this energy happens throughout the course of the year. Now, when these eclipses happen in that 11th house, it deals with friends and the organizations that we belong to. In these times of eclipses, pay attention to what's happening, okay? Because where's my little book? Oh, I had my little book right here with the dates. Ew. Okay. Well, we have one that's happening May 26th, okay? And then we have another one that's going to be happening again in December. It's like December 10th. Now, when these eclipses hit, if something's happening with one of your friends, like let's say you're one of those people that care, because that's what Aquarius does, right? You do so much for others. What if you have a friend in that time frame that's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you out, but you help them all the time, and it happens at this time frame of the eclipse? That's the universe telling you, you can do so much better if you open yourself up to some new friendships that are more beneficial for you, that give back to you, because that's the whole point of relationship, is to give and take. And if you're constantly giving and not getting anything in return, the universe is going to show you in spades at the time of these things. But it's also about the groups that you network in. When the eclipses happen in this cycle, it's trying to get you out and networking with other groups, because ultimately they're going to be bringing you greater abundance. And remember, there's a lot of abundance that's coming this year too, because of this Jupiter-Saturn thing that we're going to get into next. So Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the sun, where Saturn takes 30 years to go around. And right now they've both aligned in the sign of Aquarius. For all of us in the world, this is really triggering new opportunities, okay? Because the old structures are falling apart, the new is coming through because of Jupiter and Saturn coming through this year, and that will continue throughout 2023 to rebuild the new foundations under us that are more fitting. They're not the old ways of doing things, these are new things. But take that and put that into context for you. It's tearing down the old ways that don't work for you. Maybe these things worked on autopilot for you your whole lifetime, but 2020 made it painfully obvious to you how they don't work. These old ways don't work for you anymore. And so Jupiter is pushing you outside of those old comfort zones, saying, let's try these new things. Let's talk to these new people. Let's try this new mindset. Let's try this new job. Let's let it go. Maybe it worked before, but it doesn't work now. And right behind it, you have Saturn. Saturn stabilizes these amazing opportunities that Jupiter brings to you and makes sure they give you a good footing for the next 30 years, all right? Saturn brings on additional responsibility, I'll be honest with you. So you may find in this year that there's more stuff you got to do, right? There's more red tape, there's more restriction. But ultimately, it's only going to be for this little while, because it's going to be setting the scenes for you for the next 30 years, all right? Wonderful things that come with that. And it helps you ultimately, right, to gain greater clarity on your personal priorities and your direction moving forward for this year, all right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about specific birthdays, all right? Now, your specific birthday, I highly advise getting an actual chart reading done, because everything I just said is very generalized for just Aquarius in general. But you have a specific chart based off of the time and date and place that you were born, and that's what astrologers like me look at. We look to see how these influences and what's actually happening in your specific money house, your marriage house, your career house. Highly advised. There's a link below. You can contact me and we can do a reading. But in general here, birthdays. If your birthday falls between January 22nd and February 3rd, Saturn is going to be working with you big time. It's aligning with your sun this year. This hasn't happened for 30 years, and here it is doing it now. Talking about getting clarity. Oh my gosh, you're the one that is going to get clarity. You're going to look to see, because Saturn is the planet of responsibilities and boundaries. You're going to get a substantial amount of clarity on this year. What are my responsibilities? What is this person's responsibilities? I am not going to take on their responsibilities. I'm going to be I'm going to be accountable for mine and for my well-being. I'm going to hold true to my boundaries so that way I'm being true to myself and I'm taking care of myself, not worrying about others. That's what Saturn's going to do for you this year. And it's going to help you build a solid future as a result because you're doing what's best for you, right? If your birthday falls between January 23rd and February 19th, Jupiter is going to be aligning with your sun. And I tell you what, Jupiter is that planet of luck. We talked about it, the planet of opportunities. When it works with you, it's doing this in a 12-year cycle, and it's bringing you lucky opportunities that pop up. Where there used to be walls, there will be doors that open for you that you have no control over. It's nothing that you're doing. The universe is bringing it to you just because you deserve it, because you have faith that something good will happen for you, and it will. If your birthday falls between January 27th and February 4th, Uranus out there in the sky, which is your ruling planet, is going to be squaring your sun. You are going to be having a push for freedom like you haven't felt in a long time this year. Desire to be free. It may prompt you to break the rules. Just be extra super duper careful. I tell you what, because there's so much restriction that's been put on us anyway, regardless, because of the situations that's been happening in the world through 2020. But there's additional restrictions that have been put on you regardless, okay? And there's going to be this restlessness inside of you that's wanting to break free and push out, maybe push out a little bit too soon. So just be extra careful before you make any major changes like divorce, leaving your job, selling your house or whatever. Really dial back and ask for your Archangel Uriel to work with you and give you guidance. He's the angel for Aquarius, and he's also the angel that's known as the psychologist angel because he brings brilliant insight to you right when you need it. Archangel Uriel, call on him. But regardless, these pushes that you're having ultimately are something that do need to happen. It's something that needs to happen. You just want to make sure you're doing it in the right timing, because what this push is for is to make sure that the true, authentic you is able to emerge, right? That's what you represent, Aquarius, is true authenticity. And in 2021, Jupiter and Saturn are working with you to help that emerge in ways it never has and to have good, stable ground moving forward. So I thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a prosperous and healthy 2021. Thank you.